Sit back, relax, and let's have a chapter chat. I'm your host, Jessica Foster. Joining us today is best-selling author Jenny Hale. She is also the founder and director of Harpeth Road Press. Jenny, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And you're joining us from Nashville. How are things in Nashville?
Good. We had a little rain this morning and the sun's out now. So it's a nice day out there. A little humid, but nice.
It makes it hard to write when it's so beautiful outside, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, usually if it's sunny outside, I'll go sit at a coffee shop somewhere and write there. If it's raining and all cozy outside, then I'll stay at my desk.
You have a lot of projects in the works. Let's just talk about what you've got going on.
I just released the novel that we'll probably talk about in a minute, Where Are You Now? And then I have a Christmas book that's already written and just sitting, waiting to come out in October. And then I am currently writing my summer book that I have my first draft due September 18th.
And let's talk about Where Are You Now? This is such a unique book. I'm already reading it right now and enjoying it so much.
That one was surprising because I write a Christmas book every year and a summer book every year. And this one just popped out of nowhere. It hit me, like some kind of divine download. I was sitting on my front porch and the whole idea came to me. I ran in, I wrote it. I got the book written in like a third of the time that it takes me to write a novel. Very few changes from my editors. And then I just sat on it until fall because it was a fall novel. So yeah, I mean, it was not expected. And it's the third book for this year that I have. So an extra one.
I think it's a unique premise because it's a near-death experience. And she is a professional who really has an interesting choice to make.
Yes. So her name is Ava St. John, and she is the youngest person. She's living in New York City. She's the youngest person in her company that's up for partner, and she's ready to just slay it. And she gets in her car and she's heading toward her next destination for one of her meetings for the day. And she gets in a horrific car accident. And while she is unconscious, she hears a voice that says, "Find Lucas Phillips and live out the rest of your life, or pass on peacefully. Which will it be?" And Lucas Phillips is a kid that she was very close to in her childhood. And he moved away when they were 15. And she hasn't heard from him since. And so she obviously wants to get back to her partner possibility. And she says, "Yes, send me back. I'll find him." And so there's this whole push and pull with, one, what does she do when she finds him? What's she supposed to do? And two, what happens to her if she doesn't?
And you said that this was almost like divine. Expound on that a little bit.
I have a lot of faith. And I've always believed that my writing has come to me. It's almost like it's not my own. It just comes through my fingers and I write it. And it just, the creativity just sort of comes through me. And so I feel like with this one, it was more so that I wasn't expecting to do it or even have the book come out at all. And so to sit there and have the entire story just literally fall into my brain in 1 second, that doesn't happen.
So it's really like your writing ability is truly a gift from God.
I think that I do his work in many different ways. And one of the ways that he works through me is through my storytelling.
And your books, they do have just some sweet themes in them. I think that pours through your work.
It's been over a decade now that I've been doing this full time, but that brand sort of is of me and sticks with me. And that's just who I am.
So in your previous life, before becoming an author, you were an elementary school teacher.
Yeah, I taught second grade, third grade, fourth grade. I have a degree as a reading specialist, and I was an district ESL teacher.
Literacy is so important. And I know you have that background. Let's talk a little bit. You're also a mom. How do
Mhm.
you feel like we can get our kids reading more?
I mean, I think it starts from infancy, really. I mean, as soon as my children could sort of lump themselves into a sitting position, I had books in front of them. And I have two boys. It's funny. One of the boys was just very still, my firstborn. He was very still and calm and just let me read. And he just wanted to hear my voice. And my other son just was so busy that I had to start with only the books that had like the touchy feely pages, those ones that have the like fuzz on them or the
Yes.
like the sandpaper, because he would just be like, touch, touch, turn, touch, touch, turn. He was just so busy. And I would just be sweaty by the time I had read with him. But it took time. But eventually he sort of settled into that routine and I would read before bed. And so I think just having books around and always reading in front of them and making it part of their reality, I think is the key to starting it.
Yeah, I think that is great advice for all the parents who may be listening, or grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Just get the whole family involved in it. I do want to go back to your work, and you talked about doing beach reads every year and a Christmas book every year. And the beach reads are often set in the area where I'm at, in the Florida Panhandle, and you really like to hone in on that 30A area.
I do. Yeah, I'm originally from Virginia, so my early books were set around the Outer Banks because that's where we vacationed. And now I'm in Nashville, and so my summer books are just naturally set in the 30A area because we spend a lot of time there. It's a stunning, incredible, wonderful area, and it's just so ripe for storytelling because every little village has its own personality and you can just really get so much from it when you want to set a book there.
Last year, I read The Golden Hour, and that was set in Rosemary Beach. And that was a sweet book as well. And the relationships in that book, I loved it.
Yay, I'm so glad. That one I delved into a child on the spectrum and how that child sees the world, and that was, I mean, again, I'm a former school teacher, so how children see the world through their eyes is so important to me anyway. And I really wanted I mean, the mom has a love story, on her own, but it's an autistic teenager, a teenage boy, and he finds love on his terms with his, he finds like that perfect person. And so it was fun to write that, even though very difficult because I see the world in a different way. But I made sure that, I had lots of moms of autistic children and some lovely people, give me some advice as I wrote it.
And I think that it's important for us to represent how different people see the world differently and become more accepting of that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm an elementary school teacher at heart, so I believe that everyone sees the world in their own way, and it's all about making sure that there are opportunities for every single person to connect, with books and connect with the world.
Let's go into the Christmas books because that is my absolute favorite time of the year. Can you give us a preview of what's going to come out?
Oh, so one of the things is I keep everything completely hidden. No one knows anything about any of my books until they come out. So I'm trying to think of something I could tell you. Um, I will say that this upcoming Christmas book is different from my others in that it takes place over many years at Christmas time. So each, couple of chapters happens on a different year and it's sort of set. It begins, I can't remember the year now because like I said, I'm in rough draft mode right now. So I got to go back and look at what year it was. But I mean, not rough draft. I'm pre-published with that one. But I had to actually go back. I just remember I had to go back and research like way back, because the last chapter of that one happens at the current year. So the first chapter is many years before. So I was researching like what football games were on what nights, and like what day did it actually snow in this location. And so that way, as close as possible, my book matches the actual year that it's in.
Ooh, I like that. So a little bit of a historical fiction sprinkled in there.
Kind of. It's like if you could rewind 5, 6 years, and then it goes consecutive Christmases.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's going to be a popular one. And a lot of your Christmas books have been popular, and some of them have been turned into Hallmark movies. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So, remember, I was a school teacher. I had this crazy idea to write a book. Again, I think God was leading me in that direction for whatever reason, and I decided to write this book. And that first book went to Hallmark. It was Coming Home for Christmas, and it had Danica McKellar in it, and it was such a surprise because I was still in that teacher mode. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just wrote this book. And then after that, a few books later, Christmas Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses went to Hallmark. And that one had Jill Wagner as the lead.
So did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? How did that happen?
No, they reached out to me. So there are different production companies that are pitching to the networks, and then the networks themselves sometimes can reach out. I received emails from production companies that said, we, are interested in reading this book. And then, who has the TV rights? So I had those for both of those books, and I sent them the book to read, and then it went from there.
I bet you were like, is this really happening? Am I being pranked right now?
Right. Yes. I mean, it was surreal. And I mean, also back in, my first book came out in 2013. So that whole, the idea of cybercrime was not really on my radar. We just didn't, it just wasn't as prevalent in front of us. I mean, it might have been happening, but it wasn't right there in our faces all the time like it is now. So when I got an email, I believed that email at that time. But yeah, I mean, there was that sort of moment of, I'm not, some established author. Is that okay? There was all that worry, but at the end of the day, everyone's creativity is their creativity, and whether you've got 30 books or one book, it doesn't really matter.
It really doesn't. And it also just proves that when you are called to do something and you have that inside of you and you act on that calling, beautiful things can happen.
Indeed. I mean, my life looks nothing like I originally planned it to look. And my entire adult life has been all about listening to those gut feelings, praying about it, trying to listen to what God wants me to do and just acting on that.
And Harpeth Road Press was birthed out of acting on that as well.
Yes. I mean, that happened in 2020 during COVID. I'm a creative first. Writing is just one of the ways that I express myself creatively. I love graphic design, and I love photography, and I dabble in painting a little bit. And so there are lots of different ways that I express myself. So once I got pretty solid into the writing career, I really just wanted to hang out with my publishing team. I mean, I just really wanted to be involved in their packaging and their marketing and all the fun creative things around that. And so in 2020, I decided to just step out and try it myself and see how I did with it. And I've never looked back. I mean, now Harpeth Road is a small publishing company in Nashville. We're a startup, and I'm publishing myself and many other authors now. And it's been just a delight to play around with that.
Are you finding up and coming authors? Is that kind of what you're looking for right now?
Right now we exploded. I mean, again, we're a startup, so we have a huge for our standards, class of authors coming through 2025, 2026. So, I had to put a stop to submissions right now at this moment, just so that I could manage what I have. But we have all kinds of authors. We have seasoned authors, New York Times bestsellers, USA Today bestsellers, brand new authors, debut authors. So it just depends. I mean, at the end of the day, a good story is a good story.
I love that you are providing this pathway, and I love that you are always listening to what your next step needs to be. I think that that is really a gift in itself as well.
I think it's all based in my faith. I mean, that's what it's all about, is praying and then listening and going with what you feel. Like when I start to feel uneasy in a situation, I know that I probably need to pivot. And so it's just being sensitive to that and following what you're built to do.
Yeah, and being out loud with that faith and not hiding it. That's important also.
Yeah, and I think, more and more we're doing that. I mean, I put out a Facebook message to my neighborhood and said, I just want to meet with women, or I didn't even say women, with anybody, anybody. And I don't want to do a Bible study. I just want you to bring your own coffee and bring your Bible, and let's just sit around and talk about it. I've got a meeting on Thursday, our first meeting. We got 10 people coming to my house, and it's going to be a blast. But I think, more and more people are starting to reach out and do that.
They really are. And I think that especially after the COVID pandemic, I think people really craved personal connection.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think people want to know um, that they have hope and that there's something out there, and I think that's, I always was raised in the church, but only in October of this past year, I said, I think I want to read the Bible from cover to cover. I've never done it. And I have like 47 Psalms left, and I'll have read the whole thing. And some of the books 2 or 3 times. But I think that's what people want, is hope and then connection with other people, like you said. And I think those two things together can move mountains.
Jenny, I am actually in the process of reading the Bible from cover to cover as well. I'm about 50% through it.
Well, I did the thing where I started in Genesis. I went all the way. I bought a new Bible. I started in Genesis, went all the way to Revelation. And by the time I got done, I, I, I didn't do Psalms and Proverbs at that time. And I had a few other little books I'd kind of skipped around on. But by the time I got to where I was in Revelation, I bought a whole new Bible and started over, because all the typology in the Old Testament just sort of made more sense after reading the New Testament. So then I had to go back and start over. So I've kind of been working through 2 Bibles, and I have one now that's like the one that's got all my notes in it. I don't know what would happen if I ever lost the Bible.
Right. I have a family Bible that has my grandmother's notes in it. And I cherish that so much.
Oh, that's so good. Maybe mine will be my grandkids, because I take so many notes in them. I got one that has the margins on the side, so I could take all the notes.
It helps. It really helps you to wrap your brain around it. Let's get back to your books. And you've written a lot. Do you have a favorite?
My favorite is always my most recent book, because it showcases my most recent learning in how to write and tell a story. I think, with every book, there's never a point where you're not honing your skill. And there's never a point where I don't learn something from my editors. And I usually, because I'm a perfectionist, I'll learn something and then it makes me want to go burn all my books before it. But I think, it's always my last one. I think that's the one I pour myself into, at that moment. And then once I'm done with the book, I hardly remember it, because I've moved on to a whole nother world with a whole nother cast of characters.
I understand that as a journalist and creating content also. You can go back and you're like, ooh, I wish I had said this differently or written this a little differently. But you also push previous stories out of your head when you're moving on to the next one. So I totally understand what you're saying there.
Yes, you have to, because I'm kind of an ADD type. I'm really creative and I bounce around from one thing to another all the time. So if I don't push that last story out of my head, I'll get it confused. And I struggle sometimes too, where I'm writing a book and I have to stop and do edits. So I'll do edits on another book. And then when I go back to that one I was writing, I have to start over and just read what I've got so I can sort of get back into it.
Well, Jenny, I know that you have some writing to do today, but we appreciate you taking time to share your journey, talk about your newest novel, and share your faith journey too. That was such a treat for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for listening to Chapter Chat. You've been listening to Chapter Chat. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Happy reading.